Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Last night, we had a meeting. This is with Surveillance senior executive producer Eric Malo, Herder of Interns.
Yep.
It's his new title, Herder of Interns. And we had a list of people, and at the top of the list on Putin, Trump, and Alaska was Angela Stent. Her book, Putins World, is absolutely definitive. We are beyond honored to have a conversation this morning with Angela Stent. Angela, if you were in Alaska for this meeting, what would you listen for from the two?
Well, I'm listening to see what it is that Putin is proposing to President Trump. And so far, it seems that, Ukraine is supposed to cede territory to Russia that Russia doesn't even control. And really not get very much in return, maybe a freezing of the battle lines. And with Trump, I'm listening to see, does he really understand that Putin isn't willing to stop this war and that he's being played? So those are the things that I would be listening to.
And I look, Angela, at this, and of course, in the zeitgeist this morning is the Bild article in Germany that they got the translation wrong. Do we have the process and apparatus to prepare for Friday's meeting? I mean, do we have an administration in place that can do this?
So far, it doesn't appear that we do. I mean, normally these kinds of summits are well prepared in advance. They're experienced diplomats who are involved in them. This is the result of, a long conversation between Stephen Witkoff, not a diplomat, not an expert on Russia, and Vladimir Putin. We don't know the contents of it. And so we're really left in the dark about what the process is in this. And the concern is that President Trump will be there and that he doesn't have all the backing he needs and the understanding going into this about what Putin's actually trying to do.
What is the role, if any, for President Zelensky?
Well, so far, President Zelensky, of course, has been excluded from this. The U.S. and Russia are talking about his own country. President Trump has spoken to him. Zelensky is in very close contact with the Europeans. The Europeans are trying to impress on President Trump that he has to go into this clear-eyed and realistic about what Putin is trying to do. But to think about two countries trading away another country's territory without that country being present, I think that bears a lot of thinking about.
Does President Putin have any intention to sign a ceasefire on Friday or even discuss it?
I very much doubt it. I think what he's trying to do is to probe and see how much he can get from President Trump. So I would not hold your breath on that.
Angela, I get the drama. Max Boot writes it up in the Washington Post and others. And we don't need to do a history lesson on 1938 in Munich, where Neville Chamberlain gave away a piece of Czechoslovakia, and look what happened. But do you see that moment here? I mean, these two world leaders, Angela, do we know where they're going to meet in Alaska yet?
I don't know where they're going to meet in Alaska. And it's interesting. So for Putin, all he has to do is fly over Russia. If he were to meet Trump in many other places, he probably couldn't, because there are a lot of countries he can't fly over because he's an indicted war criminal. So we don't know. Okay, so
maybe they're going to meet on those two islands. They can wave at each other across the Bering Strait. Angela Stent, discuss what's in the zeitgeist this morning of allusions to 2 years before World War II.
Well, I think, 2 years before World War II, if you think about Neville Chamberlain, I mean, he was trying to postpone a war because, he believed that if he just gave Hitler what he wanted, which was, talking about what was happening in the Sudetenland, then there wouldn't be a war. I think we may still be at that point. I think there's not a full comprehension in the Trump administration that, that from Putin, the subordination of Ukraine is the goal now, but it's the first step towards really retaking influence and land in what used to be the former Soviet Union. And Putin has expansionist aims. And I think maybe in 1938, Mr. Chamberlain didn't understand exactly what Hitler's expansionist aims were. So I think people need to understand what this is about. And I'm sure that's not fully appreciated in the White House yet.
It seems, Angela, that most world leaders around the world have bent their knee to President Trump, whether it's on tariffs or other issues. That's not the case with Mr. Putin. How do you think he views President Trump and the administration?
Well, I think he believes that Mr. Trump really wants to have a better relationship with Russia. Trump started out by saying we need to reset and improve relations. I think the Russians understand that there's inconsistency in the positions of the Trump administration. They're going to push as far as they can. This is the old, if you like, Soviet style of negotiation. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is negotiable. So I think they still believe that they can get President Trump to agree to terms that would be really very unfavorable for Ukraine and would give Russia most of what it wants.
Angela Stent, on the cover of your book, Putins World, folks, it was my book. I can't remember, Paul, if it was book of the year or book of the summer. Whatever, read the book. Putins World, Angela Stent, with a new chapter out now. Bill Burns, who has a little bit of experience at CIA, says Putin's World is a definitive guide to understanding the tangled history of post-Cold War Russia and its place in the world. You got a great photo on the cover, Angela. I'm sure you picked it out, of the 47-foot table with Mr. Putin sitting at one end and I think Mr. Macron sitting at the other end. That's not going to be Alaska. Is it going to be all smileys and, arm patting and all that? I mean, is it going to be touchy-feely?
It may well be. I mean, you've seen the pictures of Mr. Witkoff and Putin, Mr. Witkoff putting his hand on his heart, smiling, shaking his hand. I don't know what President Trump will do, but it's not going to be this long table. So I think there will be smiles, at least for the public.
Angela, you're not old enough to remember this. I remember when Khrushchev took a shoe off and pounded it in the UN. Have we treated Khrushchev or Brezhnev or Stalin or, dare I say, Lenin, have we treated them like the administration's treating Mr. Putin? It's absolutely original, isn't it?
Oh, it's completely original. No, we were very suspicious of them. They were communists. We knew that they were at least officially committed to taking over the world. We were very wary with them. Having said that, Nixon and Brezhnev, did shake each other's hand, were all smiles. Brezhnev visited the U.S., drove around in big cars. So there was some of that. But this is a very different feel to what it was like
Paul,
during the Cold War.
This is it's like the new season of Slow Horses. I mean, Mr. Trump and Mr. Witkoff and all should just watch Slow Horses. I mean, that's how they get prepared for it.
So, Angela, is there a scenario here where, I don't know, some kind of deal gets signed between Russia and President Trump? And if I'm Ukraine, I'm just sitting on the outside saying, what do I do here? I mean, is that even a scenario?
That's definitely a scenario. I mean, the Russian goal is to sign an agreement with President Trump that's favorable toward Russia and then blame the Ukrainians if it doesn't work out, because the Ukrainians are not going to sign on to a deal that's that disadvantageous for them, and the Europeans are going to back them in this. So that's definitely a scenario that some deal is signed between the U.S. and Russia, but in fact, the Ukrainians won't accept it.
Angela said one final serious question, and this goes back to Mr. Gates and Condoleezza Rice, I believe in Belgrade. I mean, I get it. There's territory in eastern Ukraine, and they've got 4 acres of Russia, It comes back to the emotion of Crimea. Will that even be discussed at this meeting about the sheer reality of Crimea on the Black Sea?
I don't know whether it'll be discussed, but it really doesn't seem to be an issue. I mean, I think the Trump administration is assuming that the Ukrainians can't do anything about the annexation of Crimea and that they will at least de facto have to recognize that.
What do you need from Secretary Rubio?
Well, I think Secretary Rubio needs to make sure that concessions are not made to Putin that are not warranted. He I think, understands the situation pretty well. He was previously at least a hawk on Russia, so he needs to somehow be a restraining factor in this.
Wonderful. This was great, Paul.
Yeah,
I mean, Angela Stent, thank you so much. On Putin's World, we begin our coverage of this historic summit meeting. It is scheduled for Friday. David Gurl will join us later in the show this morning to provide further briefing. It is a story on a move, to say the least.